Hi, I'm Dennis with TeraFlex. Today I've got our crack team, Emily and Jen, here with us today, and we're going to be replacing these plastic play school rock sliders with something that'll actually take a hit. These are an extruded aluminum rock slider that TeraFlex makes. We're going to bolt a set on here and just show you how easy they are to put on. Okay, guys. You know, I'm just lucky to have such a crack team with such an awesome skill set. All right, good to see you guys have your work clothes on today because this is going to get pretty serious. We're going to be using some power tools. Tape to start with. So if you lose control of the rock slider where you're putting it up against the Jeep, you don't gouge the heck out of the paint. If you run it as straight as you can across there, because when you're starting to put that slider up against the door, you want to be able to have a straight reference line. So let's get some up on the fenders themselves too, on the flares. Let's double it up on those. All right, let's test fit this. You start that bottom edge underneath the Jeep a little bit and then just kind of roll it up. You can push the flare out of the way a little bit if you need to, just to gain you that little bit of clearance. Nice. Does it feel like it's fitting flush? Does it look like it's lined up along the bottom okay?
Yes, Dennis.
Throw you this jack under there. You stick that. This will kind of hold us up. That holding it?
Yes.
Okay, here's your ink pen. We're going to make sure we have the same space front and rear on it. So see how Emily has a big gap more than you do. Yes, yeah, so I'll let this jack down a little bit. Just scoot it back just a little. Okay.
I'm good on this side.
Okay, what are you lined up with, Emily?
I think we're good. We're good?
Okay, here we go, back up. Wow, these are some exacting marks. Very well done.
Punch.
This is one of those cool little center punches that's spring loaded. So all you have to do is push it in, boom, and it marks them. If you don't have one of these, that's okay. Just center punch every one of the holes. All right, I'll let this down, all of it. Thank you. Oh, you're being oh so careful. All right, let's just put it over here out of the way for a second and we'll start drilling some holes. Jen's just going to drill a couple little pilot holes here. By drilling a small hole here, we won't have any of those "what did you do" marks up the side of the door. Just drill a pilot hole in each one of the punch marks. Jen's got her holes drilled. We're going to switch out the bit. This is actually a roto bit. They're kind of a nice little tool. They cut a nice hole through some thin sheet metal. If you don't have one of these, I'm sorry, but you're able to use just a regular drill bit and do the same thing. As long as you got your little pilot hole, you're good to go. So let's just swap this out. Emily, this is going to be your calling in life to drill this next set of holes. What do you think?
Awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. These are going to be the final holes, so we want to have these holes really perfectly square. We want to have it go in really straight. We don't want to have any wobbling so that our nut zerts will fit perfectly. Do you feel like you can do that?
Yes.
Let's do it. Okay, where do you want to start? Let's start on an easy one so you can get a grip for it. There's a nice one right up the middle. Try not to drag that down the door on your way to it or anything. Go down the line and drill them all out. We had a paint pen out to do their marking, so we're just going to use it to just put some paint on the edges of these holes so we don't have any chance of rust at all. Doesn't matter what color it is, because we're just going to throw the nutsert in on top of it and totally hide it. Okay, we provided a little tool to put these nutzerts in. It's got a little recess in it. That's the end that's going to go up against the nutsert. It's on there really nice. Throw the bolt in the back side of it, thread it in, you're good to put them in. These actually work really well. Throw it in there, 9/16 end wrench to hold that side of it, 3/16 Allen, and just kind of push it in while you're winding that in. And the threads will just pull that nutsert in and expand it, and they don't come out. Now when you put these in, just give them a little tug and make sure that that nutsert's in there good, because you're going to be putting a bolt in it and tightening up against it. That's what's going to hold your sliders, so make sure they're in there pretty snug. Here's just a quick little tip for you. Before you put the slider up on there, it doesn't hurt at all to just enlarge those holes just a little bit. Just kind of give you a little bit of leeway in case you didn't get the holes drilled in the side of the Jeep right where you want them. It gives you a little bit of leeway so you can get the bolts started easier, and everything will fit just fine. And in this case, we're not positive of where these holes were drilled. I mean, we drilled them. So let's just go ahead and enlarge these. I'm going to be really careful not to drag the side of my chuck down this, because that's right where you're stepping. I'm just using a little step bit and just went up one size over it. You're going to have a big washer that covers that and the nuts, so it's not a problem at all. Now before we take this slider and put it up into position, we're going to take one of these little stainless steel bolts that comes with the kit for the install, and we're just going to thread it into every one of those nutserts and make sure that they go in very easily by hand. If any of them bind up at all, stop. Don't try to tighten them up. This stainless steel, it's awesome because it's stainless steel, but because it's stainless steel, it's soft, and it'll just gall up those threads and you'll have a mess on your hands. So just make sure that all of them start in really nice and smooth. If they don't, take a second, run a tap in there and clean up the threads. Next step is we're going to put our little gasket into place here, and then we're going to mark it so that we'll know where to drill it. Here's a little trick. If you use that clamp, Jen calls it a clamp-o-matic, he puts it in there, and then we can pull against it. So because when we do this, we don't want to have a lot of buckles, and we want to have it nice and tight. So we'll just give this a good tight pull so that when we go down and mark our holes, they'll all be lined up. So I'll push that straight up against it. We got that one good? Good. Let me get this all stretched tight. Okay, and you're pushing that right up against it when you mark it. Okay, this is really flopping all over. Okay, good. And the last one. All right, we can see our paint mark here, and what that's going to do, it's going to line up right with the hole there. But what we'd really like to have happen is we want this to be stretched down so that our hole is going to be like that, so it's really pulling this gasket tight up against the edge here. If we're up like this, it can be a little loose. So we're just going to drill our hole just on the top of that. So when we go to drill it, instead of lining the bit right up on the dead center on that hole, we're going to come above it just so that the edge of the hole we're cutting is going to be on the top of that. So we'll be able to see it as we go to drill it or put our bolt in, but it'll give us a little tighter fit. Again, we're using that little roto bit, which is kind of handy. Anything will work. You can even, I've seen guys even take a socket or something with a sharp edge on it, and they just punch these out. As you, the astute viewer, probably noticed, the protective tape is still on the Jeep. Now would be a good time to remove that tape. Will Jen and Emily be able to make that call? Let's watch. We're just going to start 2 of the outer bolts and just put them in real loose, just so that the slider's kind of hanging by them. And then we can start our gasket. Oh, nice. And we'll work it from the inside out. Okay, let's start in the center. We'll just tuck this gasket down in there. Just throw a bolt in the middle, and that'll have a one-inch spot in place, and then just start working our way out. Now because we drilled that hole a little bit off, you're going to have to kind of angle the bolt up and catch the gasket and pull it down. Just real gently, make sure that you have to be really, really easy to turn. You guys make this look easy. I think it's instilling confidence in all of our viewers. Are you through already, Emily?
Uh-huh.
Exceptional work. Take your time, Jen. That stretching the gasket makes it tough to get all the bolts in, but when you're done, it's so nice to have that gasket stretched nice and tight so it doesn't come out and look unattractive. Okay. We've got 3 holes to drill under here. We're just going to go through the floor, and then we'll use a punch and go up so we can get to the upper section. Just like that, that'll give us access. We can put a punch in there, and we'll put a little dimple from the top so we can see where to drill, so we don't have to do a lot of measuring, or, we don't have to think about it. We'll just drill a couple of holes, stick a punch in there, and we're done. Next step is we're going to move these body panels out of the way so that we can access the floor to get our bolt through there. God, these things are a mile long. One more up here. Okay, that'll gain access. Our holes are going to come right up through the floor here. We want to make sure we don't get into our wiring harness, so we're going to move that out of the way. And we'll know which ones to move when we get our little dimple put up through there. Okay. We'll do the next one right here. And the last one is clear back here. Good. Go down the line and drill them all out. Okay, final step, we'll put the bolts up through there and tighten them up, and it'll be a done deal. Okay, so you're just going to drop the bolts from the top down. It's a little easier that direction. Gravity holds them in place for you, so when you crawl underneath to put the nut on the bottom side. All this is doing is sandwiching between the floorboards and pinching that rock slider between them all. A little help will go a long way on these. We've got Emily holding the bolt from the top up there. We'll just start the nuts on the bottom, and we can just wind them in from the bottom. Let's do the next one back as well, and we'll get started on that one. You on that one? Okay, let's sketch this front one a little bit. We'll just kind of do them together. Now, you don't have to get too violent with these. You just get them snug. It's got a lock nut on it, so it can't come off, because we don't want to have to totally pinch both layers of floor together. Whenever it gets hit, it's got the whole surface area that's going to push against the floor, so that's going to take the impact. So the bolts are just going to hold it in place is all. Okay, and the last one. Okay, you ready?
Yep.
All right. All right, that's good.